Hey folks, I'm Troy and you're watching TroyTube. Today we're going to make a sublimation clock, and these are clock kits that you can get on our website at bulkvinyl.com. So stick around, we'll be right back. Now we have these sublimation clock kits on our website that have been quite popular. Actually, I thought they would be popular. I didn't know how popular they would be, and we've sold a ton of them already. So this is an aluminum clock face. It actually has a plastic coating on it. That's why it's green. So when I peel this off, we get a white coated surface to sublimate onto. And it comes with the clock movement. So you have a clock movement with the little hanger that goes on it to hang it on the wall, as well as the clock hands and the little the hardware and everything to put this on the clock face. Now in the video, I'll tell you, the clock hands are a little bit different than the ones on our website. I had someone who had some items that arrived damaged, unfortunately, from the carrier, so we replaced those, and these are replacement clock hands that we bought from Amazon. But the ones that you will get in your clock kit will be just like the ones you see on our website. And we're going to use the TroyTube Designer to do the design and layout for this in order to print the clock face. And it's really cool how we've set this up to be able to center and line up this clock face perfectly. So let's switch over to the computer and do the design, and then we'll print it and press it and show you the finished product. All right, we'll get started by going to the TroyTube.net Designer beta, and you can get to this by going to design.troytube.net. The address is right there on your screen, and your login is the same as TroyTube.net, bulkvinyl.com, or the TroyTube mobile app. It's all the same login and password. And once you log in, you'll be presented with the various templates for the blanks that we sell. We're going to go over here to the clocks category, and you'll notice there are two templates listed for a clock. We're actually going to use both of these, but for now we're going to choose the one with the green circle around it. Now with the TroyTube Designer, we're going to use this as a print layout tool, not necessarily an editing program, but a program to prep your designs, and you can add in some images, clip art, fonts, different things to do your design with. But in order to do this, we need to prepare a couple things. So in order to prepare for this, the green circle is the bleed area. So the white area you see is the actual size of the clock face, and the green area is about how big you want to make your image so that it goes all the way edge to edge if you're doing an edge-to-edge design. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get our crop template set up. So we'll go to the Images button over here on the left toolbar, and then under the library, we'll click on Categories and go to the Blanks Crop Templates. And in the search, we'll type circle. And we'll go ahead and insert this circle. And when you move this around, when you put it right in the center, you should see these crosshairs show up. And that means that you are in the dead center of the layout image. And then we're going to adjust the size of this out to right about the size of that green area, maybe just a hair bigger. It doesn't have to be exact, but you do want it the size of the green or just a little bit larger so that you can crop your image properly. And next we're going to go to the Layers panel and actually hide this circle. And then we're going to go over to the Images and upload our image. Now we upload our image by simply dragging and dropping it onto this area here. And these images are in your local browser cache. So if you change computers or anything, you won't see images that you had uploaded previously. This is for a couple of reasons. One, it keeps people from storing all their images on my computers, on my servers, so it doesn't take up additional storage space it doesn't need to. And you keep all your original images anyway, so this is just in your browser cache, and it is very high performance by doing it this way too. So we're going to click and insert that image, and we're going to adjust the size of it just a little bit larger than our clock and get it moved around here where we want it. Now one of the cool things that you can do is we don't know exactly where we're at over the clock layout, so when we come here to the fill bucket option, we can turn transparency down a little bit, and then we'll be able to see what's underneath of it, and we'll be able to position that to where it looks the best with the layout. And you want to pay close attention to where the edges of your image are if you're inserting a square image around the clock face and you want it to go all the way edge to edge. So now we can turn our transparency back up all the way now that we have it in place. And if we want to keep from moving it at all, we can actually click on that and then come up here to this little grid of dots. We can say lock object position, and it'll put it in place, and no matter what I do, I can't move it around. So that's just a little safety feature. And next, we're going to go back to our layers panel and get our circle. And one of the keys here is we want the circle on top. So we're going to grab it by the little icon and just drag it above the image. And then we're going to click on the thumbnail of the image itself. And we're going to unhide the circle. And make sure you're clicked on the image here. So after I unhid it, I had to go back and click on this again. And you can see the bounding box where I'm selected on it. And with this image selected, I should see this mask icon, this little star. And when I click on that, I can click the circle, and it will use the circle as a clipping mask to get rid of all the extra area you don't need to print, so you don't waste any ink or anything. Now next, our clock needs some numbers and some tick marks for the hours and minutes. So I'm going to go over here to the clip art section, and in the categories, you'll see clock faces. And there's a number of different clock faces with different fonts here, you know, Halloween, kind of blood dripping, you know, some different fonts that you want to take a look at, decide which style you want. This yellow thing is so that you can do your own layouts for your numbers, but if you do that, I would caution you to not mirror the image in the designer software and use your printer driver to mirror it. Otherwise, you're going to have to do everything backwards and really think that through in order for the layout to work properly. So the first thing we're going to do is insert the hours and tick marks. So we have this with the hour marks and the minute marks in between. And if you hover over that, you'll see a preview of it. And then we also have it down here in just the hour marks, or you could leave it off. That's all your preference in design and creativity. So I'll insert that, and then we'll move this around to where we also get the crosshairs and have it perfectly centered. And then I'm going to move this all the way out to the edge. And typically, let's say if I go over here to layers and I hide my image, I can see that my tick marks are all the way around, you know, and overlapping a little bit around the edges. So these tick marks will go off of the edge and be just barely showing all the way around the outside. So I'll go ahead and insert my numbers. This one, I'm going to choose this layout. This is the Magnolia Script font. And again, we're going to move it around until it's perfectly centered, and we get our crosshairs, and we're going to adjust to the spacing or the size here. One of the things I want to point out to everyone is to be careful when you do this with your spacing, because of the position of the numbers. If you look at the 3, it has a little bit of distance, but the 10 is really close. So if I were to be looking at that 3 and try to move it closer, you'll notice that my other numbers, you know, all start to touch. So just pay attention to that and be careful where you are positioning everything. For the most part, these should all be centered and lined up pretty well, so you should be able to just center it in the image and then adjust the size appropriately. Now we'll go back to our layers panel, and we will unhide our image again. And this is our finished clock face. Now, depending on their picture, you may want to change the colors of your tick marks and numbers. When I click on them, you'll see the fill bucket, and you can choose different colors if you'd like. This one, these numbers show up about as well as probably anything else that I could put on there. But if your image was really dark, you might want to use white letters or light yellow, something like that. So just do what your heart desires on the color of your numbers and tick marks on top of your images. Now, before we download this printer, we're going to change the template and use that other clock template I mentioned. So if I go back over here to the product button, then I simply choose product on the 8.5 and 1/8 inch wall clock kit layout. And you'll notice that all the green and everything went away, the words at the top went away, but it did put this little tiny circle with a plus sign right in the center, and that's what's going to allow us to center and line up our clock face perfectly. This is round, so if you were off center, it would show really bad all the way around if you don't get it centered properly. So we'll go ahead and print this. Actually, let's go ahead and download it. So I want to show you how to use the Faststone image viewer. Normally you would leave this off for most things, but in this case we want the background because that's what adds this little circle in the center, and we're going to download this. Now, if you're not familiar with the Faststone image viewer, I'll put a thumbnail on the screen right here. You want to go find this video on my channel and watch it, because this is one of the best image viewers that I have found that enables you to easily print and access your printer controls on your printer dialog properties. So I'm going to hit Control P. I could also right click and go to print, or hit File and print. And you can also do multiple images at once if you had multiple images selected over here in the panel. And this is how easy it is. We're going to go to select my EcoTank 15,000. I'm going to go to Printer Setup and click on Printer Properties. And we're printing on 8.5 by 11 paper. This clock barely fits on an 8.5 by 11 paper. You can see the very edge of it is cut off over here on the right, and the same thing is on the left, but it does fit and work great. So we're going to change the paper to Presentation Paper Matte, color to high, and of course we're printing in color. Borderless printing is turned off. And then on the more options, we're going to tell it to mirror the image, and then we're going to print this on our EcoTank printer with sublimation paper. Now you notice it doesn't show it reversed here, but when it comes out of the printer it will be reversed because I selected mirror in the printer dialog up here. The rest of the settings should be as you see them on my screen. 0 margins all the way around, original size with this box checked. We're set to portrait, and measurement of units can be on inch. Gamma correction and number copy is just set to 1, and then we'll print this and switch over to the other camera. Alright, so we have our clock face laid out here, and still has the plastic coating on it, and we have all the additional parts for the clock hands and everything. Again, these hands are shaped a little different than the ones that will come with your kits because these were bought separately. But if you'd like different hands, you can actually buy different clock hands on Amazon, and you can actually even buy whole clock movements differently if you'd like for your clocks to have a different appearance on them. So what we're going to do is remove this plastic coating. You want to do this very carefully. So I'm going to use an X-Acto knife just to barely grab the edge of the plastic here and lift up on it. And you notice that I'm pushing away, not digging into it, because I don't want to scratch the clock face. So we're going to move this coating. And you see we have a nice glossy clock face to work with here. And here is our design that we have printed out. Now, as I pointed out earlier, we have this little plus sign right in the center here that's going to allow us to center the clock face perfectly. And what we're going to do is lay our print down, and you notice that it's mirrored. And I'm going to lay the clock face down on top of it. And I'm going to just kind of visually center that little plus sign. It's real easy. It's not difficult at all to see where it's centered. And don't pay too much attention around the outside, because the center here is what you're working off of. And so now that I have it in place, we're going to put some heat tape on it. Now we really don't want this to move at all, so I'm going to put a couple pieces of heat tape on each side of this to make sure that it stays in place while we're working with it. We want to end up with a nice, crisp, clear picture when we're finished pressing it. Now this might be a little bit overkill, but I really don't want that to move. I want it to stay perfectly centered so that we get a good clean press out of this. You get one shot at pressing a sublimation item typically, so we want to make sure that it's in there properly. And then after we press this, we'll come back and then we'll add the clock parts to it and assemble it. All right, now that we have pressed our clock face, it's still a little bit warm. Always be careful when you're taking your sublimation items out of the press, especially metal, ceramics, things like that, because they are extremely hot. You can get heat-resistant gloves on Amazon. We will have them on our site soon, but until we get them in, then I would suggest probably finding a pair on Amazon so that you can handle your items a lot easier. And so we'll just remove the sublimation paper, and you'll see, let's get rid of this tape here. That is our sublimation clock face. Looks absolutely wonderful. And you can see around the edge how much ink transferred off of the image. And so we're going to flip this over now. We're going to put our clock together. This is the clock movement, and you have this little, typically the battery is on the bottom side, so the hanger you're going to want to put on like this. And then we'll flip the clock face over and put the clock movement on. Don't worry too much about how it's oriented, because you can adjust it after it's all put together. And so I have this little washer and nut to put on here to hold the clock movement in. So we'll just put that on there and hand tighten it. And you can hold the clock movement on the back while you tighten that down. Now some of these clock hands are a little thin, so you gotta be careful not to bend them too much when you do this. They are a pretty tight pressure fit on there, and like I said, for this clock face we do have a second hand, and we'll snap that on the clock face. And everything's nice and snug on there now. And we have our Sublimation clock. Wonderful Mother's Day gift, Father's Day gift, any other kind of gift, weddings, anniversaries, anything like that. So we'll put a battery in this and give this to Tammy tomorrow for Mother's Day. I wish I could have done this video before Mother's Day, but when you're doing a gift for these videos, kind of hard. But there you have it. Beautiful, beautiful Sublimation clock, and love the way that turned out. And so now we have to just put a AA battery in it and hang it on the wall with a little hanger there and set the time. All right, there you have a Sublimation clock for Mother's Day. Like I said, I wish I could have done this before Mother's Day to promote this as an item, but you really could make these for anything. Use your own ideas and creativity. Father's Day, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, sports teams, high school logos, whatever you want to put on there, and make your own clock. So pick those up on our website at bulkvinyl.com. Again, use the TroyTube designer to do your layout. You know, we have pretty much all the templates for all of our blanks that we sell in the TroyTube designer. If you haven't used it yet, design.troytube.net. Go log in. On the help menu, there is a list of known bugs. There's several little nuances and bugs type things that you want to read over before you use it. I'll be doing a course on this real soon so that you'll have a full education on how to use the designer and all the features that you can use with. But that is awesome. Look at that. Sublimation clocks at bulkvinyl.com. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below the video. Hey folks, I just wanted to take a minute to thank everyone for the love, kindness, and support that you've provided to Tammy and I over the past several years. It's been almost 10 years, believe it or not, been 8.5 years since we bought our first Cricut, so we're almost a decade into new careers for both of us. So when you buy great products like Orcal 651, Thermaflex, heat transfer vinyl, DPI sub, premium sublimation ink, blanks, any of those things that you buy from our site help support us and our employees' families. Don't forget about our subscription and membership, which gives you access to our e-learning courses and also significant discounts on product purchases as well. So if you like our videos and everything we do, click the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And when you do, click the bell next to it so that you'll get notified when I publish new videos. And then in the video description, there's also links to all of our Facebook groups, our Facebook pages. So joining those groups, liking our pages, leaving us reviews helps us out immensely. And we thoroughly enjoy every minute of this journey along this path with you to bring love, kindness, and hope to the world using your crafting hobby or small business, whether it's been in person, on the phone, or through social media.